Module 6, The Coach in Action. Being able to organise is an important part of effective teaching for coaches to provide guidance to athletes to ensure they are learning effectively. There are 4 parts to teaching a new skill. Instructing, what should the athlete be doing and how? Demonstrating, showing the athlete how it should look. Applying, getting the athlete to practice what they've heard and seen. Confirming, providing the athlete with feedback on how they went, what you saw, and how to correct. There are many different ways to teach a new skill. Some of these are listed below. As a coach, you'll need to make a decision which method works best for the skill you are working on and the level of athletes in your group. One common method we're going to look at in more detail is the whole part whole method. The whole part whole method means starting by demonstrating and practicing the whole skill, then breaking it into parts and practicing, and finally finishing by practicing the whole skill again. Let's say, for example, we are practicing a surge. As the coach, demonstrate the whole skill and then send athletes off to practice. Next, the coach would bring the athletes back to the centre and start breaking the skill down into its parts. Do a demonstration and send athletes off to practice again. So for a surge, the first part you may want to practice would be skating on one leg, or weaving through cones to practice transferring weight from one side to another, then build in other elements of the skill each time you regroup. Finish by demonstrating the whole skill again and give athletes a chance to practice. No matter which coaching style you use, these are some of the skills needed for all coaches. These include time drills. Use a stopwatch to time drills and be sure athletes get the same amount of time to practice. Be heard. Bring a whistle and use it to signal start and finishes of drills. Pairs and groupings. Group athletes together according to the skill you are teaching. Aim to allow all athletes to have a chance to practice all positions. Change groups and positions on track. It can be good to allow different athletes to work together at different times, so plan to swap partners and groups throughout the session and also positions on the track. Use both sides. Whenever possible, practice skills with both sides of the body, so hitting to the inside and outside of the track or using the left and right foot for stops. Feedback. Make sure you get around to each group as much as possible to provide feedback, direction and encouragement and be equitable. Analysis paralysis. Encourage athletes to just do. Remind groups that are continuously stopping to keep working on the drill rather than talking about it and risking analysis paralysis. The stages of learning are phases that athletes experience as they progress through the skills. As a coach, if you are aware of an athlete's level of readiness, you can help them advance more quickly. The cognitive stage, figuring out the skill. This phase, sometimes referred to as the mental stage, occurs when the beginning athlete is attempting to understand the basic tasks. The associate stage, getting better. At this stage, the athlete understands the fundamentals of the skills and is in the process of refining the skill. The autonomous stage, it's second nature. At this point, the skill is well learned and the athlete performs the skill automatically without having to focus on the execution. Game sense is an approach to engage athletes in minor and modified game strategies and concepts where there are opportunities to develop both skills and an understanding of the tactics of the game. This means working to plan for activities that make connection between drills and skills and real game relevance. Can you give an example of when a game sense approach is used in derby? Scrimmage is one of them. Effective communication isn't just about what is coming out of our mouths. Communication is the art of successfully sharing meaningful information with athletes by means of an interchange of experience. Coaches want to motivate the athletes they work with and to provide them with information that will allow them to train effectively and improve performance. Coaches need to ask themselves, do I have the athlete's attention? Am I explaining myself in an easily understood manner? Has the athlete understood? Does the athlete believe what I'm telling them? Does the athlete accept what I'm saying? Before communicating with an athlete, coaches should consider why they want to communicate, who they wish to communicate with, where and when the message could be best delivered, what is it that they want to communicate, how they are going to communicate the information. Effective communication contains 6 elements: clear, Ensure that the information is presented clearly. Concise. Be concise. Do not lose the message by being long-winded. Correct. Be accurate. Avoid giving misleading information. Complete. Give all the information and not just part of it. Courteous. Be polite and non-threatening. Avoid conflict. Constructive. Be positive. Avoid being critical and negative. Improved communication skills will enable both the athlete and the coach to gain much more from their coaching relationship. Provide clear instruction and visual demonstrations. Simplicity. Emphasize only one major point and perhaps one minor point each time you demonstrate. Reasonable goals. Your demonstration should always set goals that are within the ability of your athletes. Appropriate body language. If you want the athletes to move quickly and urgently, demonstrate the correct pace and tempo of the movement. Talking while demonstrating. This enables you to draw attention to key points while you are actually demonstrating them to the athletes. Refraining from over-demonstrating. Restrict demonstrations to 1 or 2 repetitions. It is also important to stand where athletes can see you and demonstrate from all angles. Look. Actively attend to verbal and non-verbal cues. Involve yourself with the speaker and the topic. Sense what the speaker means by the statements. Think. Associate, reason, analyze, apply. Engage yourself, question, elaborate, elicit. Notice change. Be open to new information and ideas. Communication blocks. Difficulties in communicating with an athlete may be due to a number of issues, including the following. The athlete's perception of something is different to yours, or they may jump to a conclusion instead of working through the process of hearing, understanding, and accepting. The athlete may lack the knowledge needed to understand what you are trying to communicate or the motivation to listen to you. Emotions may interfere in the communication process, as well as clashes of personality. These blocks to communication work both ways, and coaches need to consider the process of communication carefully. Feedback. The quantity and especially the quality of feedback given to athletes is key to how well you can develop them. Successful coaching requires an ability to successfully provide feedback to athletes. Done well, giving feedback to athletes should be a gift, not a punishment. Some things to remember. Give 3-to-1 ratio of positive, including instructional and constructive versus negative feedback. So 3 positives to every 1 negative. Positive feedback. Do it now. Positive feedback is too important to let slide. Make it public. Positive feedback should be given publicly. Be specific. Do it often. Celebrate the small successes. Do it evenly. Ensure all athletes are praised. Be sincere. Really mean it when you give positive feedback. Negative feedback. Be specific and related to behaviour. Consider your timing and ensure it is done privately. Use calm and unemotional language. Check to make sure clear communication has occurred. Focus on behaviour the athlete can change. State observations, not interactions. Reframe feedback into what you want to see more of, not what you don't want to see. Receiving feedback as a coach is essential for continuously improving your coaching abilities. Actively seek it. Feedback should not be seen as a negative, rather as a gift to help you become a better coach. A good way to manage the responses you get is to set the questions yourself to give athletes. Ask what you want to know. Acknowledging and acting on feedback. Athletes who provide feedback want to know that you received the feedback, so let them know. If you understand why athletes misbehave, you'll be much better able to help them through the instruction, training, and correction. When we talk about misbehaving, we mean things like talking during demonstrations, interrupting the coach when they are talking, refusing to participate, rolling eyes, etc. Some reasons why athletes might misbehave are: feel discouraged. You need to find out why they are discouraged. Believe they do not belong. Misbehaving athletes may believe they do not belong or are not significant to the team. There is a personality clash or lack of respect for the coach. Athletes may decide to make your life miserable by arguing, contradicting, lying, resisting direction, and distracting the team. Boredom. They may be bored. Too challenged or not challenged enough. They may feel out of their depth or not challenged enough. So what can we do to manage bad behaviour? You can use nonverbal communication. By using nonverbal communication, this promotes self-control among the athletes. A tilt of the head, a slight frown, a stare, and moving closer to the athlete, maybe even putting a hand on the athlete's shoulder without saying anything, can be effective actions to stop inattentiveness and horseplay. Remind athletes. Sometimes just reminding athletes of appropriate behaviour is sufficient. Try to do so privately without embarrassing them. Redirect the behaviour. If athletes are seeking attention by misbehaving, ignoring it usually results in their escalating their behaviour until you pay attention. Try to redirect the behaviour by giving them attention when they are not demanding it. Address the behaviour. When an athlete misbehaves, address the behaviour, not the character of the athlete. Applying consequences. Your consequences for the behaviour should never be harmful physically or psychologically. Taking responsibility for their actions. Make athletes understand that they have chosen the consequences because they misbehaved. Avoid public confrontations. Remove the athlete from the others and address the misbehaviour privately. Remove privileges. An effective consequence is to remove an athlete's privileges. Reward the other athletes for the type of behaviour you want a misbehaving athlete to demonstrate, and do so when the offending athlete is clearly observing. Be respectful, yet firm when administering discipline.